Hello and welcome back to the Flower Barn Homestead. If you're someone who loves to bake, then I'm also willing to bet that fall is probably your favorite season. There's something about the coolness in the air that makes me want to hunker down and just get cozy in my kitchen. There's a special buzz in the bakery when it's the fall season. All the fall prep is just exciting right now, making our pumpkin scones, our pumpkin spice rolls, our pumpkin cheesecake. And then I also got to spend some special time with my sisters this week and go pumpkin picking with my kids. So it was a really fun fall busy week. So welcome to the fall episode of A Week in the Life at the Flower Barn. I really got to start the week off in the most relaxing way by going to this blooms and brushstrokes class. I was actually invited by the owner of the farm. They sell flowers at the bakery when it's in season, and they invited me and my sister out to take one of their classes. And also I just feel like I have to mention how beautiful my sister's red hair is. I do have a fall filter on just to make everything feel a little bit more fallish, but it really is making her hair glow. I do have 3 sisters in total. So Ellen, I own the bakery with. Paige, you've probably seen, she is one of our full-time employees. And then Nora actually is a cardiosonographer at a hospital. She doesn't work at the bakery. It's too stressful for her. But we have always been really close, so I'm always looking for an opportunity to spend extra time with her. This class was so relaxing. The instructor did such a good job of making it feel like such a simple task. She made everything not feel too complex, not feel overwhelming. So we were able just to kind of be creative while also taking in the beautiful scenes of the farm, the flower farm. It felt very Jane Austen. So after we were done with our watercolor paintings, we were able to roam the flower fields, and then we were able to pick our own flowers and create our own personal bouquets to take home. Farming is no easy task, and I love seeing how different farmers have decided to use their land in different ways. I know on our farm, we make our primary farming income off of crop farming, but we have always seen the flower barn as another way we've used our land to be able to make a profit for our families. I love listening to people like Joel Salatin or Lisa Bass from Farmhouse on Boone, people who are just finding different ways to kind of embrace the homesteading lifestyle, whether it's through micro farming or through blogging and YouTubing. There's just so many different opportunities out there now, and I just love hearing about all the different ways people are diversifying their profits and building their own legacies for their families. I personally have been inspired by Lisa Bass from Farmhouse on Boone. Watching her start her own blog and her YouTube channel has really inspired me. I hope that sharing content on teaching classes and baking and starting a micro bakery could give someone else the confidence to maybe host their own sourdough class or host their own flower cutting and watercolor class or start selling bread to their community. I also want to mention that Nora is very artistic in nature. She does watercolor in her free time, so hers did turn out much better than mine, and I'm okay with that. And the next day, I headed over to her sister-in-law's house. While they have a flower farm, her sister-in-law owns a pumpkin farm. They grow pumpkins, sweet corn, other produce, and then also they happen to have the most beautiful home, and I just couldn't help but film it a little bit and show it off. The Bailey brothers are some lucky men with some extremely motivated and just lovely wives. While we were here, Whitney showed us around, telling us about what pumpkins are best for baking, which ones last the longest, how she and her kids wash them in a special solution that helps them last longer on your porch. They take care of their pumpkins, they take care of their farm, and I think that's just exciting as a consumer to be able to have somewhere in the community that you can shop at and feel like you're supporting a good family that really puts in a lot of care on their products. Currently, I'm 26 and my oldest is 3, my youngest is 1, And sometimes it just feels like the world never stops. Things are just running and running and running. Being able to talk to Whitney kind of helps put things in perspective. She has 5 kids. Her oldest is, I believe, senior in high school. Her youngest is maybe just starting kindergarten. And it's just good to talk to someone who's on the other side of things. It's just nice to have people that you can look to for inspiration. On Thursday, I was back to work at the bakery, and it was an especially exciting day because we were actually sent this bread knife from Dalstrong Knives. They reached out to us and they said we could pick any knife we wanted. They recommended one of their bread knives. I picked out this inclined 8-inch bread knife, and it was really amazing. I don't know if I've just been buying really poor quality knives in the past, but the way it cuts at the angle, when you get to kind of the tougher part of the sourdough bread, usually your handle is already at the level with your bread, so it's hard to put any pressure down, whereas the incline just makes it so easy. We usually use an electric knife to cut croissants and cut focaccia, but later in the week I gave this a try on the focaccia, and I will say it was almost easier to use this knife than it was our electric knife. So I would definitely check out their website if you're looking for a high quality bread knife. They also have some very cool, like Viking style, interesting knives. So if you're really into knives, or you're looking for gifts for someone, definitely go over to the Dalstrong, and I'll link it below, and check out what they have. Now, and to continue on with our fall themed episode, here you see Lizzie making our special pumpkin spice cinnamon rolls. The only thing really different about these rolls is that we use our brioche recipe, but instead of using milk as all of the liquid, we add in pumpkin for part of the milk that's in that brioche dough. So it is a pumpkin brioche base. We also add in some spices like ginger and cinnamon and nutmeg to that pumpkin brioche, and then we use that dough as the base for the rolls. And then they also get topped with a slightly different icing. So our regular jumbo cinnamon rolls get topped with a cream cheese icing, but our pumpkin spice rolls get topped with an espresso maple icing. So we brew some fresh espresso, we mix that in with our cream cheese icing, and then we also add a little bit of maple extract. In the beginning of our business, our cream cheese icing was actually all maple, so that was the original recipe, but we listened to our customers. They preferred the vanilla, and so we have actually transitioned to all vanilla cream cheese icing for our customers. If you're looking for this recipe, we do have it on the flourbarnhomestead.com, which is our blog. The recipe on there is actually our sourdough recipe. I love a good sourdough cinnamon roll, so if you are interested in that sourdough recipe, it is on there. If you're someone who is looking for the yeasted version from this, go ahead and comment below, and I will try to get that out. If I see that people are looking for that recipe, then I'm happy to add it to the blog. If you're looking for tips and tricks on how to get the most consistent cinnamon rolls, be sure to check out my previous Week in the Life videos. I could go on and on about cinnamon rolls. They are my passion, but I think I already have in some other videos, so I don't want to bore the people who are returning week after week, but I will link those also, the previous videos. And here you can see my dad prepping some pumpkin brioche to be laminated because we're going to have some pumpkin Danish this week. And here is our brown butter apple blondies. I am currently topping them with that brown butter buttercream. I also have this recipe. I actually have a peach blondie recipe on the blog, but it's very easy to convert to an apple blondie recipe. You simply have to cook the apples. Apples are not as soft as peaches, so you just want to soften those apples before you add them into your batter. But this is such a crowd pleaser, a crowd favorite, and you can see why. That beautiful, delicious brown butter icing is just so full of flavor. If you're looking for a simple way to elevate maybe your most basic recipes, learning to brown butter and use browned butter is a great skill set. It's very easy. I have instructions on the blog in my peach blondie recipe, and then I also have a pasta sauce recipe on there where I use brown butter. Recipes that use, let's say, oil, you can always substitute, or you can usually substitute melted butter for oils, especially if you're trying to avoid seed oils like canola oil. You can use melted butter, and that's a great time to decide to brown your butter and add it in the recipe. The only time it starts to get difficult is if you are using brown butter for cookies. You do want to make sure you're using a solid butter. So after you're done melting it, you just want to stick it back in the fridge to let it solidify. And these were delicious. We had to taste test. Unfortunately, it's part of the job. So although I do work on Thursdays, I like to be able to get home in time for my kids to take their naps at home. So me and Nora, she has Thursdays off, which is always great. I asked her to come over and help me to recreate the sign for the fall. So you see her painting some pumpkins and some gourds. In our bakery, we have a sign that hangs down. And although I do think it helps customers to kind of get an idea of what they want to order when they get up to the case, it's more of a decoration piece. It's big, it fills space, and Nora is willing to hand paint it each season to kind of add a seasonal flair to the bakery space. I've really enjoyed it. Although it does take some time to recreate it each season, I definitely think it's worth the work. And Nora did a really amazing job. Here is the finished product. I don't normally work on Friday mornings, but since my sister has had her 5th baby, Ezra Jude, I have been filling in for her on Friday mornings while she's on maternity leave. And I actually really enjoy Friday mornings. We're not nearly as busy on Friday, so we just make a lot less product, so the mornings are a little bit more peaceful. Now that being said, on Saturday mornings, we also have a lot more help. So on Saturdays, we usually have about 5 people working, whereas on Friday, we just have 3. So I did feel like I was in charge of a lot more, and that can get a little bit stressful to have to be in charge of products that have to be done at a certain time and be ready to go to sell from the case by the time we open. But it also is just kind of fun. It's like game day. I always say it's like we practice all week to play on a Friday and Saturday, and it's just what we've worked the whole week for. I really like this fall filter, but it also is making everything look really pumpkin-y. These are not pumpkin. These are actually our lemon blueberry Danish. So it's a simple brioche Danish base, and then we use our cream cheese filling, and then we top it with blueberries, and then eventually it will get a lemon glaze. These are our regular cinnamon rolls. These are not pumpkin spice rolls, but they do look kind of pumpkin spice because of the filter. These are our croissants. They are beautiful. You can see me using this sprayer. This is our egg wash. It has helped us immensely to be able to spray our egg wash on instead of having to use a brush. It just helps to not damage the croissant layers at all, and it is a major time saver. These croissants will be baked, and then they will cool, and then they will actually be cut to turn into cream croissants on Saturday. And now I am making muffins. We sell blueberry muffins, and then we also sell coffee cake muffins. And I don't have the blueberry recipe on the blog. Again, if there's any recipes you guys are wanting, please feel free to comment below. Say, please put your blueberry recipe on there, or please put your yeasted pumpkin spice roll recipe. And I will get to work on those. But for now, I do have the coffee cake muffin recipe on the blog, and that is a great recipe, and you'll see me making it later on in the video. And here we get to see Lizzie starting to set up our little mini case. On Saturday mornings, we use 2 display cases, and we're on the big island, whereas on Friday, we only want to dedicate the corner of the bakery room to customers and sales, because we want to be able to still work in the back prepping for Saturday. So that's why we're only using that kind of little corner of the bakery. In the beginning, when we opened on Friday, we were very slow and we only needed Lizzie to run the case by herself. So she was in charge of being the barista, getting people their baked good box together. And then me and my dad were able to work together, or Ellen and my dad were able to work together to get things ready for Saturday. Lately, we've been a lot busier on Fridays. So thank you to all our customers. We're glad of that. But it does mean that only one of us is really able to prep for Saturday, whereas we need two people, one running the coffee and one running the case, so getting the baked goods boxed. Maybe in the future, because it is growing, we might have to just be fully open on Friday and all be working and then just prep for Saturday after, but we'll just have to see how things continue to grow. And here I am making our focaccia recipe. That is also on the blog. It is a from scratch focaccia recipe. I think that's what it's called. We also teach a class on focaccia. Ellen has really studied from books of Peter Reinhardt and different recipes, and I really think she's very proud of this recipe. I'm very proud of her for creating this recipe. I love a fluffy focaccia, a soft, fluffy focaccia. Also, I like a thicker focaccia. Some focaccias are very thin, but I prefer a thick, bubbly, fluffy focaccia, and this recipe really is that. We make focaccia for our breakfast sandwiches. So we sell a bacon focaccia breakfast sandwich and a sausage focaccia breakfast sandwich. And the sausage is a more sweet sandwich. So it has a maple butter on it, and that focaccia is actually topped with sugar. Whereas our basic focaccia is just topped with coarse salt and Italian seasoning. Here I am making those coffee cake muffins that I mentioned earlier. What I really like about this recipe is that you first put in a layer of batter, and then they get a filling in the middle. It's just like a cinnamon sugar filling, and then they get another layer of batter, and then they get topped with a strudel. So if you've heard someone say they love like muffin tops, they just love the top of the muffin, I do think that having that filling in the middle layer kind of prolongs the flavor of the muffin. So it's just like every bite you continue to get some crunch, some sweetness, some saltiness. I just really love this recipe, and like I said, this is on the blog and I will be sure to link it below. I also really love these liners, so I will also link them below. They're very wide on the top, so it's really easy to scoop the batter right into the pan. If you're somebody who is wanting to start a microbakery, or you're looking for a new product for an already existing microbakery, focaccia is a great one. You can bake it individually in 8x8 aluminum pans and sell it that way. And then you're able to just bake it, get it out, and it's already in its packaging. But also, if you're wanting to make sure you get as much out of your oven load as possible, you can bake it on large sheet pans, and then you can cut it up and sell it in pieces like that. So if I were to sell this one pan of focaccia, I probably could get 8 to 12 pieces out of it, and I could sell each of those pieces for $10 a piece. Also, always be careful getting your focaccia out of the oven. Olive oil will be pooled at the bottom. Eventually that will soak into your bread, but right when it comes out, it's just hot oil, and I'm always so intimidated to get the focaccia out, but I have not gotten burned yet, luckily. So here's a little bit better view of how we're set up on Fridays. We do have a more limited menu, one, because we just don't have really the space to have our full menu, and then also we just don't have the crowd to have as much stuff. But we have Lizzie filling boxes, getting sandwiches, and then my dad performing as the barista. Next, I was prepping our cosmic brownies for Saturday. This is one of those items that really showed me that sometimes nostalgia can really appeal to people. We have made so many different brownie flavors, but none have done as well as this cosmic brownie. And it is delicious, and so I know that it's a good recipe. I know that's why people like it. But even before people had tried it, they were going crazy for just the way these look. And I think it's just the nostalgia of us loving that Little Debbie brand. But this icing, I have gotten the recipe written down, and I am planning to add it to the blog. I hope it's on the blog before I post this. If it is, I will link it below. But it definitely took us a while to perfect this recipe. All it is melted butter, melted chocolate, and powdered sugar. And then of course it's topped with those classic rainbow sprinkles. Probably the most important part of this recipe is using high quality chocolate. And I love this Calibit brand. We buy this from a restaurant store in bulk, and I will link that below also. This is a great item for cottage bakers. It's cottage food law safe, and also it packages really well because that icing fully solidifies. So what I'm doing now is making our lemon blueberry scones. Normally this is all prepped ahead, but sometimes when we sell a lot of one item on Friday, like scones, we ended up selling more than we expected. We have to make some more for Saturday. So this is a really great item to prep ahead, because scones can be made and then shaped. So you'll see me fully shape these and then put into the freezer, and then they can be baked directly from frozen state. So what we do is we fill a pan full of scones, we put that in the freezer, and then whenever we want to bake scones, we get out 12 per pan. We fill a pan and we just put it into the oven, and within 30 minutes from freezer to in our case, we can get a pan of scones. So scones are a really great item for bakers because you can prep them anytime throughout the week, and then you're able to bake them in a relatively quick amount of time. Although I love baking with fall flavors, there's some items that will just never leave our menu, and these lemon blueberry scones are one of them. They are a fan favorite, and I think they just taste so fresh, and I think most of that is from the lemon zest. I'm going to show you our special way of doing scones in bulk, because one part of scones that's very important is making sure that your butter stays cold, that you have good chunks, and that that's throughout the whole thing. So sometimes scones can be difficult to do in large quantities. I actually did add the blueberries in at the wrong time. But what I do is I use the food processor to chop up my butter. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of that dry mix into the food processor, and then I'm going to add in my cold butter, so straight from the fridge. And then I'm going to add a little bit more of that flour mixture on top, and then I'm going to pulse for maybe 15 seconds, very little. And I'm going to show you, you just want it to be a mix of pea-sized to almond-sized bits of that cold butter. So as you can see, it's not too little. If you overdo it, that's probably the worst thing you can do for your scones, is to cut the butter too far and for it to be too little. You want there to be fat pockets so that when it hits the hot oven, those butter kind of turn to steam and you get a crumbly, beautiful scone. So then I'm going to add that dry ingredient mixture, the dry ingredients that I mixed with the butter. I'm going to mix with the rest of the dry ingredients, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my wet ingredients. This recipe is also definitely on the blog. I have lots of scone recipes on there, sourdough scone recipes, regular scone recipes. There is our pumpkin chocolate chip sourdough scone recipe. Definitely go and check that out. I'll also link it below. Shaping scones, you just want to be careful not to overhandle them. Scones are something that you want to minimize gluten development, so you don't want to overwork the dough. That's why you saw me using a Dutch whisk. That just minimizes the amount of manipulation to the dough. So I start by, this is a 6 batch of scones, so I start by making like a large disc and then cutting it into 6 sections, and then I'm going to turn each of those sections into their own disc, and then I'm going to cut them into the final scone shape. Scones are also another item that's great for cottage bakers. You can make most scones under cottage food laws. Most glazes are good under cottage food laws. You just want to make sure that you're using a glaze that hardens well so that when you're packaging it, it doesn't make a mess. I think one thing as a cottage baker that's really important is being able to bake things as fresh as possible for your customers. Because we're not using preservatives, we know our stuff is going to go bad quicker, so we just want to give it as much longevity as possible for our customers. Here you see me using a scone cutter. This has been such a game changer. It really helps with the consistency of our scones, and I'll be sure to link this one below as well. Other items that can be made ahead, frozen, and then baked directly from frozen include biscuits and cookie dough. So we make all our cookie dough at the beginning of the week. We scoop it, we put it onto a pan, and then we freeze it, and then we're able to decide how many cookies we want to bake, get those on sheet pans, and bake them directly from frozen into freshly baked cookies. And it's such a quick and easy process, and being able to do things ahead just gives you so much flexibility. I really never realized how tired I look on Saturday mornings until I was filming. I now film myself a lot of Saturday mornings. I really could go without knowing how I look at 4 in the morning on Saturday. But here I am making a honey cinnamon latte. My mom watches these videos, and I think she was like, "You need to stop drinking so many red eyes. I can't imagine that's good for a person." So I decided I'm gonna put a little milk with my espresso. Probably my stomach was thankful for that. And then I put a little cinnamon on top, and this was a delicious way to give me a little bit of energy and ready to get to work. I feel like I finally have my steam milked down, but I never practiced my latte art, so I really want to get an espresso machine for home, so maybe I can do some extra practice on my latte art. If anyone has one, an at-home espresso machine that they like, be sure to comment below your recommendations. First thing I do on Saturday morning is I start whipping the whipped cream for our cream croissants. I actually had a major blunder this morning. So I whipped the cream up and I used the plain whipped cream. So we do strawberry cream croissants, and then right now we have a Buckeye cream croissant. So I started with our just simple whipped cream, and I used that on all the strawberry croissants. And then I tried to add peanut butter. I don't know what I was thinking, but I tried to just add some whipped peanut butter right into the mixer with the whipped cream, and it immediately deflated my whipped cream. So this is me making my second batch of whipped cream, and I'm stopping the mixer, and now I'm gonna fold in my peanut butter mixture. And that peanut butter mixture is actually a whipped peanut butter with a little bit of cream cheese. And then I'm taking that and I'm just gently folding it in instead of whipping it, because the heaviness of the peanut butter, when I added it to the whipped cream, it deflated the whipped cream and it became very liquidy, and it was very sad. I had to throw away a lot of whipped cream, which, if you know the price of heavy cream, I'm sure it was, you can imagine how painful that was to have to throw that away. But quickly I was able to whip up some more and then start on piping my Buckeye cream croissants. So these Buckeye cream croissants are a peanut butter whipped cream on croissant, and then I add a layer of crushed Reese's Pieces, and then I put the top of the croissant on, and then we put a ganache, and then we top it again with some Reese's Pieces. So really, you could call these a Reese's croissant, but because we're from Ohio and we're near Columbus, we're big Ohio State fans, and they are the Buckeyes, so we have created this as kind of like a special game day item, so that's why we call it the Buckeye croissant. One item that I get asked a lot to teach a class on is croissants and danishes, and I would love to teach a class on it, but I really learned how to laminate, and my dad, who is our primary laminator, learned with using our commercial sheeter, which is, it makes it a lot easier to laminate when you have a commercial sheeter. So although I've done hand lamination, I don't feel like I'm an expert on it, and that is why we don't currently offer a class on it. Although there are some methods of hand lamination that I am experimenting with, and I would love to master those, and then I would feel like I could properly teach a class on it. But for now, I guess you'll just have to come to the flour bar and to eat your croissants. Now here you see Lizzie icing our pumpkin cinnamon rolls, our pumpkin spice rolls, and the icing is definitely different. It is maybe more of a mix between a glaze and an icing, and like I said, it has the addition of some espresso. If you're making this at home, you can just use some strong coffee, and then it also has maple extract. And here is a good question that I was thinking of as I was making this video. Would you refer to cinnamon rolls as a breakfast item or as a dessert? Because I feel like I see them as both, so I'm not sure what most people categorize them as. So be sure, comment below, are cinnamon rolls a breakfast item or a dessert? So for our cinnamon rolls, we bake them on a pan, so we're able to fit 36 cinnamon rolls on a pan, and because we sell them at about $4.50 a cinnamon roll, our price per pan is $162, and then if you're able to fit 3 pans in one oven, that comes out to be $486. So that is a great price per oven load item. That is why we bake them on the pan directly. For those of you who watched before, I do bake some of our rolls in an aluminum container, and that's really just because it's the easiest way to bake it, and then it's already in its package is these 8x8 aluminum pans. But because I want to make sure I'm getting the most out of each oven, the most profit out of each oven load, that is why I bake things on the pan and then we transfer them into their packaging. It does take more time, but like I said, it definitely makes us more per oven load. So the amount we make for an oven load using the 8x8 pans is about 320 per oven load, whereas like I said, when we pack the pans, it's 480. And then normally we do have sticker labels for each of our rolls, but we did run out of those, and so that is why Lizzie had to go in and write pumpkin spice on every single box. Before we got more help and more employees, my job each week was really just cinnamon rolls. So I would roll the rolls, I would cut the rolls, I'd put them on the pans, and then my dad would bake them, and then I would ice them, and then I would box them. And although I don't do that anymore, it's still one of my favorite jobs when I'm able to. It's very cathartic, it's very relaxing to me. Rolling cinnamon rolls is probably one of the most relaxing tasks for me. So sometimes when I watch these videos, I kind of get jealous of Lizzie because I think she has the best job. I mean, it's definitely a lot more fun than ruining a whole batch of peanut butter whipped cream, but no, but really what I'm doing while Lizzie is icing cinnamon roll after cinnamon roll is prepping the Danish to bake, getting pre-orders ready, getting things glazed, helping Paige with the sandwiches, and just trying to do what Ellen normally would do while also getting my own work done. So here I'm cutting the brownies. That icing is so great, and it becomes so solid, but in order to cut it, I have to wait until it completely solidifies. So that's why I didn't cut these yesterday. I wanted them to be easy to cut, and when they are solid, that is when it's way easier to cut these brownies. So if you are someone who owns a cottage bakery, like I said, these are great items. They are so easy to package because they are not a messy buttercream, so they're able to fit into treat bags or a little box, and I'll even link some packaging suggestions in the description below for these. But this is definitely a great recipe if you are a micro baker. And then also I used a pastry roller to score these brownies, and then I went in with a knife to actually cut them. And then here we are using that Dalstrong knife again. I really did love this. I really appreciate Dalstrong for sending it to us, and I'm not just saying that because they sent it to us. It was really an exciting product to get, and I really can't recommend it enough. That is our loaded baked potato focaccia. It's my favorite thing in the case, other than the coconut cake. It's what I always hope to have leftovers of. I'm always craving it. And you know how it is. It's almost game time. You know, we're getting nervous. We're getting excited to see everybody. And then we're just flurrying around trying to make sure we're getting all the last minute things in place, getting labels in the case, making sure the coffee is brewed, making sure that all of the rolls are on the correct table, and everyone's in the right places, everything's clean, the sink is empty, all those last minute things, so that when people walk into the bakery, we're all prepared for them. And then there's Mary. She is eating a lemon blueberry Danish, and that was a great choice, Mary. And then there's our register from Square, still trying to get a partnership with them. And then we are ready to open. Our case is full of our baked goods. We just gotta open the door and let the customers in. This was a fun day because Ellen actually was back for part of it. She just came in and helped us a little bit. Like I said, she's been on maternity leave. Her baby just turned 4 weeks or 1 month, and she's starting to feel better, so she came in and helped us out a little bit on Saturday morning. I think she really just wanted a little time to get a break from the baby and just kind of feel a little bit more normal for a little bit. So she came in, got to see some of our regular customers. We got to talk a little bit, and we've been missing her, so it was good to see her. It also meant I got to go out and film some footage of our line outside. It was such a beautiful fall morning. It was just a little bit crisp, perfect sweatshirt weather. Inside the bakery, it's always hot in the morning because we're running around, the oven's on, so it was nice to just kind of go out and get that cool breeze. As someone that loves to bake, I have found that the more I try to bake in my daily life or throughout the week, the more joy it gives me. It's really a cathartic experience for those of us who do love baking. So I just want to remind you that although fall is a great time for baking, people also are craving yummy sweet treats for themselves. Whether you're thinking about selling to your community or you're just wanting to bake in your home, but you maybe don't want to eat a whole pan of brownies, your neighbors would love it for you to just come by and bring it, or the local nursing home. If you're someone that loves to bake, then it's okay to just bake and bake and bake. If it's something that brings you joy, just bake away. I'm sure that there's plenty of people out there that would be happy to taste the fruits of your labor. If you enjoyed this video and are looking for more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe, and also follow us on Instagram at Flour Barn, and be sure to check out our blog, theflourbarnhomestead.com. All recipes and products will be linked in the description below. Thank you.